My name is Sharon Foster, and in hindsight, I should have been wary of the genuine-sounding enthusiasm in my brother's invitation. The trip from Vermont to Riverside, Connecticut, lasted for hours. 4 hours of Maverick softly singing along. 2 old rock songs while our daughter Willa read quietly in the back, lost in her battered copy of Anne of Green Gables. For hours of our son Jude asking every half hour if we were almost there, his eagerness to see Uncle Reed spilling out like fizz from a shaken soda bottle. Maverick dressed as he always did, a faded chambray shirt from L.L. Bean, well-worn khakis that fit him just right, and the brown leather loafers he'd had resoled twice because he insisted they were finally perfect. His salt and pepper hair was wind-tousled from the drive, and he wore that relaxed smile of a man entirely at ease with himself. I had chosen a simple cream silk blouse and navy trousers, along with my grandmother's pearl earrings. Willa wore a vintage Ralph Lauren dress I'd picked up at an estate sale, soft pink with fine embroidery, the sort of timeless quality that endures. Jude sported his favorite polo and pressed khakis, resembling a tiny, preppy catalog model, though he'd already creased the front by the time we reached the long driveway just after 7 that evening. The mansion loomed ahead like a scene from a movie. White columns glowing in the twilight, windows lit by sparkling chandeliers, the lawn trimmed to put in green perfection with rows of luxury cars, Mercedes, BMWs, a Bentley likely worth more than many homes lining the circular drive. "Wow," Jude whispered, his face pressed to the glass. "Does Uncle Reed live here?" "He rents here," I gently corrected, though my stomach was already nodding with discomfort. Maverick stayed quiet, but I noticed the subtle narrowing of his eyes as he surveyed the scene, that sharp, assessing gaze he wore when supposedly gathering material for his writing. I knew better. My husband was always observing, always calculating, though hardly anyone guessed that the mild-mannered freelance nature writer was far more than he appeared. We parked between a Tesla and a Jaguar. Our 8-year-old Volvo, wagon dependable, safe, looked like staff transportation. The celebration spilled across the mansion's expansive terrace and vast lawn. Women in gowns that likely cost half a year's groceries for us, men in razor-sharp suits. The air carried expensive perfume, champagne, and that unmistakable aura of wealth, an exclusive blend of privilege that makes outsiders feel they're inhaling something foreign. We climbed the stone steps. Willa's hands slipped into mine, her palm a little sweaty. At 9, she was perceptive enough to sense when she didn't belong, though she'd never admit it. "You look lovely, darling," I whispered. She squeezed back in. Reply, a coordinator with a clipboard and a polite but distant smile stopped us at the entrance. "Name's Sharon Foster. It's my husband, Maverick Miller, and our children." She checked her list, her expression cooling almost imperceptibly, not outright rude, but dismissive. "Ah, yes, the Vermont family. This way." I felt Maverick's hand rest lightly on my lower back as we followed her through the throng. We passed the VIP area, raised terrace section with prime views, soft lighting, and intimate linen-draped tables. That's where I spotted Reed, my younger brother, surrounded by his fiancées. Inner circle. We've driven for hours. I brought a thoughtful gift, a first edition book for Helen. Yet Reed's gaze flickered with something new aimed at me. Embarrassment? He glanced at his polished guests, then back at us in our L.L. Bean and vintage finds. He stayed put. Coordinator guided us past the VIP zone, past the prime seating near the bar and dance floor, past even the secondary tables. We ended up at a round table in a dim corner by the kitchen door, where staff hurried by with trays and the music was muffled. The lighting was poorer here. The view was the service entrance. This was the periphery. "Enjoy the evening," the coordinator said, already departing. Maverick pulled out my chair with calm deliberation, seated Willa, then Jude. When he finally sat beside me, his jaw tightened just enough for me to notice. "Mom, why are we by the kitchen?" Willa asked softly. "It's okay." "Sweetie, we can see everything from here," I replied brightly, though we both knew it was a lie. Across the terrace, Reed laughed at a guest's joke. Champagne glass raised. He never glanced our way again. Maverick leaned back, fingers tapping the cloth once, twice. To outsiders, he seemed relaxed, mildly amused by the display. But I recognized that expression after 12 years of marriage. He was memorizing details, and Maverick Miller's observations always led to action. The party buzzed around us like a private club we weren't meant to join. Servers bypassed our corner, directing trays toward the VIPs. Laughter drifted from the center, where Reed and Helen reigned under glowing Edison bulbs. Our spot caught fluorescent glare from the kitchen. Jude swung his legs, still enthusiastic despite the slight. "When do we eat? I'm hungry." "Soon, pal," Maverick said, tousling his hair. He'd kept his easy manner, but he'd angled his chair to survey the whole. Seen that supposed writer's eye always watching for inspiration. If only people knew. Then Helen approached, her champagne gown shimmering like liquid light. She was stunning in a deliberate way. Flawless hair, precise makeup, jewelry that broadcast its cost. At 28, she'd mastered appearing costly. She paused at our table, smile locked in place. "Sharon, so glad you made the trek from Vermont. Must have been exhausting." "For hours," I said evenly. "Not too bad. Braver than I would be, I couldn't imagine living so far from everything." She laughed lightly. "But that's the creative life, right? Reed mentioned you work for a nonprofit. How? Rewarding." The way she said rewarding turned it into a lesser choice. Maverick's hand found mine under the table, his thumb stroking my knuckles a quiet signal to stay calm. "It is," I replied simply. Helen's eyes swept the children, pausing on Willa's dress. "And your daughter's so sweet in that vintage piece." "Very." Charming. Willa's smile wavered. At 9, she sensed the barb without fully grasping it. "It's Ralph Lauren," I said steadily. "From the 80s. Superior craftsmanship to most modern lines." "Oh, of course." Vintage has its appeal. Helen's smile edged sharper. "People here just favor the latest season straight off the runway." But resourcefulness is admirable, making the most of what one has. Making do-ahs if our choices stemmed from scarcity rather than preference. A server appeared in the VIP area with canapes. Helen excused herself gracefully, soon returning with a cluster of guests, presenting us like curiosities. "Everyone, meet Sharon Reed's sister. She lives reclusively in Vermont for artistic pursuits and works at a nonprofit. A very relaxed existence, quite detached from our hectic world, isn't it?" The group offered polite smiles, eyes gliding over us with trained indifference. I could sense the story she wove. The sibling who couldn't compete in the real arena, escaping to rustic simplicity, now reminded of her shortcomings. "Actually," Maverick interjected mildly, his first words since her arrival, "Sharon oversees multifaceted projects with diverse stakeholders and multi-million-dollar budgets. The nonprofit world demands considerable pace, just prioritized differently from profit-driven sectors." His tone was amiable, but I detected the underlying firmness most missed, since Maverick excelled at seeming innocuous. Helen's smile held. "Absolutely, nonprofits are vital, though compensation must be modest compared to private industry. But that's the trade-off for passion, yes?" She departed before I could answer, her followers trailing. Jude pulled my sleeve. "Mom, I'm starving. Can I grab one of those appetizers?" The lavish buffet stood near the VIPs. Jude started rising when Helen reappeared, as if alerted. "Oh, Jude." She knelt dramatically, gown pooling. "I'm not certain those hors d'oeuvres suit you, dear. Foie gras and caviar are acquired tastes. Without proper exposure, you might struggle. How about I ask the kitchen for something more familiar, spaghetti perhaps, or fried chicken? Surely that's more your speed at home." The suggestion lingered. "Your family sticks to basic, cheap food. If you don't belong here." Jude looked puzzled. "I like trying new stuff." No need, Helen. I rose, hand on his shoulder. My tone was quiet but resolute. The kids will eat here with us. Encourage them to experience everything, no segregation required. Helen's smile flickered for the first time. I was merely helping. We don't require assistance. I guided Jude back. But thank you. Helen rose, composure chilling. It's yourselves I'd hate for the children to feel out of place. She glided away, trailing costly scent and silent disdain. Our table quieted. Willa folded her napkin. Jude's spark dimmed. Reed remained in his VIP enclave, oblivious or deliberately blind to his fiancée's treatment of his family. Maverick leaned to Jude. Hey, champ, secret. The best party food is whatever you love, most caviar or nuggets, doesn't matter. Between us, I'd pick a burger over fish eggs any time. Jude giggled, brightening. But I saw Maverick tracking Helen, jaw setting firmer. My husband was patient, watchful, slow to rage but fiercely guarding his own, and his kids had just been targeted. By 10 to 8, the festivities peaked. But at our table, I was midway explaining to Jude why no third canap when I noticed Willa's empty seat. She'd gone to the restroom 10 minutes earlier. Anxiety spiked. I stood, searching for her blonde hair, her vintage cardigan, the pristine one from an estate sale, finer than anything Helen owned. Then I spotted her returning, shoulders curved inward, arms hugging herself. Even distant, I saw her red-rimmed eyes, rapid blinks. She slipped into her chair silently. Willa? I leaned in, voice low. Honey, what is it? She shook her head, jaw tight. At 9, like me, she bottled emotions until they overflowed. Talk to me, sweetheart. Her whisper was choked. Can we just go home? My heart shattered. What happened? Some girls, near the bathroom. They were 12 or 13. They pointed at my shoes. I glanced down, her taupe suede flats, classic and cared for, from a Vermont vintage shop, true quality that endures. They said I had poor person shoes. Asked if they came from a donation box because they're so old. Fury surged, blinding and instant. My brilliant, kind 9-year-old dad Van Streeter, weekend shelter volunteer, bullied over shoes. Reached for her hand, but heels clicked. Helen appeared, false worry amplified for nearby ears. Several guests turned, drinks pausing. Oh no, is something wrong? We're fine, I said flatly. Really? Willa seems upset. Helen cocked her head in mock empathy. What happened? I started to speak, but Willa whispered first. Some girls mocked my shoes. Helen's gaze dropped to the flats, a flash of glee before sympathy masked it. Oh, darling. She crouched performatively. Children here are raised differently. Parents are executives, philanthropists. These kids are prepped for Ivy League with sophisticated tastes. My fists clenched beneath the table. Honestly, Sharon, I've worried about this. The kids there, unaccustomed to such settings. Isolated in Vermont, lacking regular high society exposure. It creates culture shock. They miss the norms. She wasn't consoling Willa, she was justifying. The bullies. Perhaps next time, Helen rose, smoothing her gown. Prepare them better. Ensure attire fits the event. It spares awkwardness. Onlookers watched, judging. Her message was plain. Your fault, Sharon. You dragged your provincial kids here in charity case clothes, discomforting everyone. I trembled, wanting to explode. To confront her viciously. But Reed was my only brother. Scene would cast me as the disruptor at his celebration. I stood sharply, chair scraping. Helen's smile broad and victorious. She thought she'd prevailed. Then Maverick rose. The shift was chilling. The mild rider vanished. In his place stood a man of commanding presence, air cooling around him. He adjusted his jacket button, that perfectly tailored one-hand silence rippled outward. Chatter halted, glasses stilled. He met my eyes calmly, coldly focused. The unspoken question we'd shared countless times had enough. Recalled Willis. Tears, Jude's bewilderment. Our banishment while Helen flaunted wealth beyond our groceries. My brother, 4 hours drive away, ignoring us. I nodded. Decision sealed. Helen's triumph wavered. She stepped back, uncertain. Maverick's face remained neutral. He gently helped Willa, then Jude, from their seats. We're heading out, I announced, voice steady, children's hands in mine, husband's strength behind me. One chose their dignity over. Reed's event? Murmurs spread. Helen's doubt vanished, replaced by smugness. That's likely wisest right now. Her voice projected. This is my home, Reed's and mine. One must uphold a certain standard. For partners, investors. My house. My house. She claimed it possessively, evicting us like intruders. I collected Willa's purse when I caught Maverick's fleeting smirk, the one I'd seen thrice. Before a takeover, dismantling a rival, outbidding an oligarch. He relished this gift. Sharon, Reed's voice pierced the hush. He pushed through, flushed. Tie loosened, exhausted from facades. What's happening? I leave so soon. Helen clutched her chest innocently. Oh, Reed, darling Sharon wants to go. She's uncomfortable with the atmosphere, perhaps. Reed's face fell with guilt. Sharon, I'm sorry, I never meant. Maybe take the kids to the hotel. Rest after the drive. He apologized for Helen. Clueless. It's okay. Reed, I said softly, arm around Willa. We'll clear out. No, Y2 traveled far. I wanted you here. Helen steered him. Sweetheart, let them. We have guests the Castellanos asked about investments. Reed deflated, glancing apologetically before yielding. Maverick helped Jude with his jacket calmly. But that smirk returned at my house. Maverick, I whispered en route to the door. Not yet, he murmured pleasantly, yet something ominous lurked. Near the foyer, Helen called brightly, Safe travels. And Sharon next time, ask for affordable boutique tips for the kids' outfits. Polite laughter followed. Guests watched the spectacle. Willa's grip tightened. Maverick halted, back turned. The atmosphere charged like pre-storm stillness. He casually drew his phone, tapped, scrolled. Actually, he said clearly across the foyer, before we leave, I need Reed for a quick word about the house. Silence fell. Helen froze. Pardon? Maverick turned, expression professional. Reed. The lease wanted to notify you personally, since. Family's here. Reed approached, baffled. Lease. What notice? And the trap closed. Party sounds dulled as Maverick advanced, exuding boardroom authority where fortunes shifted on signatures. Reed, do you recall the parent company on your lease? My brother faltered. Why now? Ironwood Holdings.